Has anybody else been shocked today by the announcement of the Player of the Year award and the disrespect shown to Rodri, the disrespect shown to at least one of the two Arsenal centre-backs? When you're seeing people on there like Van Dijk this season, who has no place being on that list, in my humble opinion, talk to me. Does this just show that Player of the Season awards are a sham?
Yeah, it does. Isn't Foden in the Young Player of the Year as well? And he's 24.
A Young Player of the Year is worse because, like, you can be 24 and be nominated for
that.
And
he's got what 100 and correct me if I'm wrong, 154 Premier League appearances, and yet he's in the Young Player of the Year award. And look, taking my Spurs hat off, the two Arsenal centre backs have been two of the 5 best centre backs in the league, and I think only was it Saliba's the only one in there. How Rodri's not in there as well, when in my opinion he's the most important player to any team in the Premier League, and it's been unreal. The awards system in this country are just absolutely terrible. I mean, Harry Kane, I think 6 or 7 years ago, he won the Golden Boot and something like 11 assists, but I think lost the vote. I can't remember who he lost to, but it was like by 41%. Like it just goes to show that these awards mean absolutely nothing, and they are just a waste of time. Who actually do you think Foden, if he wins the Player of the Year awards, really going to care when he's trying to win a double? Like they're absolutely pointless in my opinion.
It's a fan vote. It's a fan voter one for anything. Having only 8 nominees to me feels a little bit short. I think you should have 10. If it's going to be a vote, you should have 10 anyway. And I certainly don't see why. The name that stands out to me there for being on that list is Isak. Like he's had a good season, but ahead of a Rodri, ahead of a Saliba, ahead of a Saka. You know, has Isak for Newcastle had a better season than Solanke for Bournemouth? I'd argue no. I'd argue what Solanke's done is bigger.
Ollie Watkins.
There's names like that which always confuse me on that basis.
I mean, he's got 20 league goals, right? Which is a very, very good achievement. His form in the last 2.5 months has been absolutely exceptional, Isak. But I do hear you. Solanke's at a worse team and must have a similar amount of goals. I get why Ollie Watkins is there.
Mm-hmm.
I do hear you. I mean, I've always felt this, whether it's the shortlist, whether it's the people that get into Team of the Year. I've had these arguments when it comes to the Scholes-Gerrard debate. I always felt this as a kid that they used to put certain players on these lists from certain teams so that everybody feels involved as best they can. We'll try our best to get a player from a couple of other teams that maybe don't need to be there. I remember watching Man United won a treble once, and Ginola won Player of the Year for a Spurs team that come about 7th or 8th. But there was definitely players in the Man United team that performed better. Like David Beckham that season. And again, we look at other. Because of that season, he came second in the Ballon d'Or, but he wasn't the best player in the Premier League. None of it adds up. Either the Ballon d'Or's wrong or the Premier League's wrong. The player awards for me have always been a sham.
I swear Messi is still on the short list for Ballon d'Or, I think.
I'm going to go as far as I was literally about to say. I'm going to go as far as to say all individual awards for players are nothing but a glorified popularity contest to me. I think you've seen many a time where there's a player win an individual award, like a Ballon d'Or, like a Premier League Player of the Season, or FIFA Pro, they'll make it to the FIFA Pro 11, and it's like, how have you missed out him? How have you missed out him? How have you missed out him? It's literally a case of the people that are making these decisions. These are the ones that we like. Some of the ones that Kevin De Bruyne won, I'm like, how has he possibly scammed his way to another?
I'm shocked Kevin De Bruyne wasn't nominated.
This is what I'm saying. How has he scammed his way when he's missed like 3-4 months out the season? This happens year on year. So to me, I don't even care about none of these awards. Honestly, I barely even check for who's nominated, let alone who won them. It could mean less to me, honestly.
And the young one is just a shambles as well. I thought Young Player of the Year was under 21s. It's apparently if you're 23 at the start of the season or something.
It should be limited by how many games you've played already or something, because some of these players, I mean, I get they're young by age, but experience-wise, it should be for players making, you could even remove the word young, and it could just be breakthrough season. So you could be a championship player, but come to the Premier League at 26 and have a brilliant year. It should be like a breakthrough award that you can only ever win, in my opinion, once. It's the year that you come into because this year, the breakthrough player for me, although he's played some games before, is Cole Palmer, because it's the first time he's had a mainstay in a team and he's been sensational. So I would look at him and go, he is the breakthrough player of the year as an example. But the young player of the year award, you get individuals that are 23 that have been playing for 5 years, got 200 or 300 games experience. It feels off. And then sometimes you get, if Foden wins player of the year, but not young player of the year, that don't make sense either. You can't be the best player in the league, but not the best young player in the league. And sometimes that happens. It's all, honestly, it's absolute. How do you see it from Will? And I want to ask this in a nice way. How do you see it from an American perspective? Because I know like MVPs and awards in the States, how are they perceived?
Yeah, I mean, like, so those kind of awards in like the States, bro, it usually goes to like, so for example, like basketball, like the player that has like the most points, has like the best stats. Same thing kind of like with football. It's usually given to like a quarterback because they have big numbers and they usually are the most important player of a team. But I think when it comes to like the international stuff, when it comes to your version of football, yeah, I think it definitely is just a popularity contest. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. And I definitely do agree with what Tom said with that. I think it's too short of a list of players. I think that it should just be open to more than, 8 players? And then I don't know how it works though in England, like if the fans are voting for that or if it's like the journalists. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is weird though.
We've got like 5 different players. I don't know which one's the actual relevant one. You've got the PFA, the FWA, the Premier League. Then there's all like these little ones for each sort. Like there's the North,
and each club's got their own one as well.
There's about 7 different awards.
Remember this. This is how you know they're nonsense. I swear, Ange Postecoglou won London Manager of the Year.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Because he did.
London Manager of the Year. London.
My brother's club, Leyton Orient, his manager got into a little bit of trouble because he put out a really funny tweet that said something along the lines of, I didn't. It's funnier than how I'm going to say it. It read funnier. It was like, I didn't know Celtic were a London team type thing. Or he said something like, it's good to know that I'm playing in the SPL or whatever it was, because he won it in like November. He won London Manager of the Year.
He won player Manager of the Month as well, 3 reasons, right? Even just quickly, even like the individual awards in America, like the NBA, I think Jokic won MVP. And I'm like, how? Like,
Yep.
The player awards in general, it should just be scrapped. Like, does anyone really care about Manager of the Month, Player of the Month?
No.
Like, it's for me, they're just irrelevant awards.
Nah, but we can't act like fan bases don't care though, because if your player wins it or like if your manager wins it, then like
Madison won it,
tweeting about it.
First month. Look at it now.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If anything,
Player of the Month is the most flawed one, by the way. You know, Kevin De Bruyne has never won Player of the Month.
You know, United. I think United have 3 Player of the Year awards this year. I think 3 or 4 Player of the Month awards. Sorry, not Player of the Year. I think we have like 3 Player of the Month awards. That should let you know that these, and every time we won it, I was pissed. I wasn't celebrating it or using it to like hold over rival fans' heads. Yeah. I was like, how has this happened? And
it's always been like this. I remember sort of watching. I've watched 2 or 3 times. Stoke it was like a documentary, and Stoke players were talking about how they got in trouble with the PFA. Because when they had to vote for who their player of the year was, they all sent back in Maradona's name. And it was like, no, take it seriously. They all admitted as well that sometimes what they do is they'll go, right, who's someone that we deserves it, but we don't want him to win it. So say it's this season. They go, right, Foden deserves it, but we don't want him to. So we're all going to vote for the other guy instead. Now, lots of players have spoke about doing this. And as soon as you hear that and you know it's widespread, you can't take the award seriously because, you know, people are voting like sort of strategically or biasly or for a joke. And so for me, the way I look at things is just they're not a great barometer for saying, you know, imagine Declan Rice wins more Premier League Player of the Year awards than Rodri. That doesn't mean he's a better DM than Rodri. Like that award isn't it. But
Terry, you all know that award shows are just money spinning events, right? You know that once you're gonna do an award show, you're getting mad sponsorship. I mean, most people don't realize because, like, in my line of work, when events like that, the sponsorship money is what most of those guys are looking for. That's why they're coming up with London this award and this that award, or this organization wants to start an award. It's all because they're gonna make money. It's business for them.
Yeah, they don't really care. We end up with like 9 Player of the Years.
Yeah, they don't really care because at the end of the day, their bank accounts are getting paid. Ting. and they can just issue out any award to whoever it is. They can also cash in on a bit of sponsorship because the sponsors want the players to endorse them. The people sponsoring them was like, oh, if you give it to this player, he can endorse us and maybe one of our ads in the future. We'll be able to get a leg in. That's all it is. So yeah, it's a nonsense
Do
thing.
you want to know how much of a farce this is? There's 3 main awards for the Premier League. You've got the FWA Footballer of the Year, the PFA Players Player of the Year, and the Premier League Player of the Season. All are voted for by different things, and I think
So you agree with me then, Tom, that we have to discount the player awards in the Scholes Gerrard debate?
I'd never count them anyway.
Top lad. That's confirmed, people. Well, I'm going to take Tom's word on behalf of the whole of the Liverpool fan base. Thank you, Tom.
Because if you go back to 2010-11, I've literally just pulled it all up here. You know, in 2010-11, we had 3 different Player of the Year winners. Scott Parker won one. Gareth
Scott
Bale won one.
Parker?
And Nemanja Vidic won one. So there was 3
Agreed.
different Player of the Years for one season. How does that make any sense?
Wasn't that when Gareth Bale had that unbelievable campaign when he got 20 league goals? Was that
I think
one?
it was...
But yeah, Dio's right. It's about money. It's about making everybody feel involved.
Yeah.
And especially when teams are struggling, you'll always get like, can we try and squeeze? I mean, this season you can't do it for Man United. If one player really had an outstanding
You can
season,
squeeze
we
him.
weren't as bad as he were, they would squeeze a Man United player in there. And I know they would, because that way you get the Reds in, you get Man United fans on the website, you get everyone voting, you get everyone excited. And yeah, it's pointless in my opinion.